All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, fellow Pandemonium travelers, this is Seattle Pandemonium Shutdown Day, I think 358 by my count, maybe? So what's going on? What's going down? We've got, I don't know, it's hard to reconstruct all of the news narratives that are happening. Like, there's a bunch of stuff I just don't care about. Like, okay, Trump gave a speech at CPAC. I haven't watched it. People said it was really good. I sort of, it's not like I don't care what Trump's saying, because he's kind of got himself into like being like a Bismarck kind of a situation. But like, I just don't want to spend the time to pay attention, because it's like conservative political Twitter, conservative political people are like all about, you know, they're looking for leadership. It's really what it is, and their best bet is Mitch McConnell or something. I don't know. It's weird to look at as a non-conservative, non-Republican, malcontent person. A deplorable, I guess. What's the other? See, this is what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is the ATF. Yeah, the Bureau, the BATF, I guess they are. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms put out a tweet about the agents that lost their lives in the Waco raid, which was, I guess, February 28th of 1993, which would make that 28 years ago, I guess. There was the Waco little mini series put out by Paramount like a year or two ago that I felt did a pretty decent job of, you know, laying out the whole situation. I thought it was fine. I did an episode of my podcast back in 2016 or something. Janet Reno and the Ashes of Waco, because Janet Reno died the day before Election Day of 2016. It was like November 7th or something like that. She died. And she was the, what do you call it? She was the, what was Janet Reno? Secretary General, something like that. What was she? Attorney General of the United States. There we go, Attorney General. One of the first female Attorney Generals as well. And it wasn't entirely like her fault. Like, she attained the office after the situation was already unfolding. But the way that it was executed, the Waco siege and all that stuff, like, there's a reason why people keep coming back to this and pointing to it and being like, what the hell is this, right? Like, if the ATF hadn't have done what they did, then the result would be that there was some people in a house, in a structure, and those people would have like they could have nabbed David Koresh somewhere else. Like, they could have picked him up almost any time. It looks like it was a flex. Like, we're gonna rush your, building with these armed agents and all this. It seems like it was a flex, and it was done on purpose. And that's just kind of how it looks from the outside, right? Now, what were the Branch Davidians doing? Well, allegedly, and again, I listened to my own podcast again today, which is weird to do. I know how weird that sounds. I listen to my own podcast to remember, like my own, how do you put it? My own misunderstanding maybe of what the situation is being like, why is this way? Why did this play out this way? So the ATF putting out a tweet and getting dragged, right? Dragged is internet slang for people are insulting them, basically. They got ratioed, as they say. Basically, a whole bunch of people were like, yeah, this is all your fault. Like, why why are you praising murderers, basically? The dead agents, that's the ATF's fault, too. Like, let's say you're a statist and you just are like, well, those crazy cultists were doing all kinds of bad stuff and we had to stop them. Okay, the dead agents are still the ATF's fault. like if they had just done things differently, those agents wouldn't be dead. And that's just that. There's not really any way around that in my opinion. Like, that's their fault. So them saying, well, we remember these agents, it's like, well, they're dead because you guys fucked up. You guys were bad at your job, which your job was to try to regulate guns and tobacco and, alcohol, I guess. Like, when you start to get into this, it's like, why does this even exist? Like, what is this? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like a department for, water and water filtration having a SWAT team. You're pulling too much water, you're filtering water but not in the correct way according to our regulations, so now we're gonna raid your compound and shoot you. It's like, we have guns and we sell guns legally, but maybe we heard possibly you have guns that are arranged in a configuration that's not allowed, so we're gonna burn the building down and kill a bunch of women and children. I'm not trying to be glib, like, that's what happened, okay? Now, you can argue, of course, well, the Davidians were being, standoffish and violent themselves. Okay, yeah, but they didn't come to the ATF office and attack them. The ATF came to them and attacked them. So, who escalated what, where, and how here? You know what I mean? Like, it's just... There's no reason for this to have happened. And now, and again, in the now, the big now, the current epoch, current zeitgeist, if you will, or if you won't, we have these media narratives about Trump supporters, for example. Trump supporters are sort of these violent, extremist, separatist type people. And it's like, no, they're really not. But that is not going to stop the media and people like Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer demonized the Branch Davidians when this happened, and this guy's still in office. He's going to do the same thing. He's going to say, the 6th of January, this dangerous insurrection. These Trump supporters are violent, dangerous people, and we need to drone strike them. Like, this is the rhetoric. And they're gonna keep doing it. And the media will just keep going with it. They'll just take the ball and run with it. And they will target American civilians. And I don't want to just be a fearmonger. I'm not saying that this will happen. I'm just saying all the pieces are in place to crack down on any political dissident that is, I don't know, right of Donald Trump. I mean, anybody who's pro 2A, probably anyone who's pro 1A, anybody who's at all, like, say, isolationist in terms of foreign policy, anyone who's anti-war starts to fall under these, under these umbrellas, and they will justify government-focused domestic violence, like domestic violence. I mean, they will. People are arguing for, drones striking political dissidents and whatnot. And I mean, it's right there. All the pieces are right there. And then when they start, you know, I guess, I don't know what to say, like, say, attacking political, you know, movements, political actions, demonstrations, that kind of a thing. What will it be? It will be dystopian. I mean, like, that's the term for the government cracking down on things like public demonstrations when they're not politically correct. Go. Yeah, I know the guy took that sign. I don't care. This is the dystopian nightmare people were always, you know, kind of talking about. It's the government cracking down on people exercising their rights, and that doesn't excuse, like, again, like, the Branch Davidians and David Koresh were playing a game, right? Like, Koresh was playing this game of, like, oh, well, I'll get what I want, and I'll give you some of what you want. It was like a negotiation thing, and I think he liked some of the sort of stardom of the whole thing, because, I mean, he was a cult leader, right? I mean, basically the guy was like me, but, you know, charismatic enough to attract a following, whereas I only have you who are listening to me. But the government shouldn't be doing those things. Like that doesn't excuse the government's behavior in the situation. And they killed foreign nationals, by the way. At Waco, like Aussies, New Zealanders, like Kiwis, Limeys, Canadians, I believe, were all killed there. And I don't know why that's not a bigger deal. You know what I mean? Like if we just killed some foreign nationals, like, on U.S. soil, that would be like a huge scandal. And somehow they just, well, you know, they went there and they joined the cult, I guess, so it's all fine. It's okay. Like, they made their own decision. There's no consequence. Like, I can't imagine. Like, imagine if a Iranian citizen was killed by the U.S. government in America. Like, that would become a Benghazi level scandal we would never hear the end of. And yet the federal government under the Clinton administration killed like 80 people, including foreign nationals, including women and children. And the scandal like, it is a scandal. People still talk about it, right? Like, they make, you know, movie series and documentaries and stuff about it. But it's like, you don't hear about it the way you hear about other scandals. People know more about Monica Lewinsky and her, you know, behavior, and Bill Clinton's behavior, than they do about, you know, the Waco mass murder, because that's what it was, right? Let's call it what it is. It was a mass murder. But people just don't know. They don't know about it. They don't know about the specifics. And actually this dovetails into, like, Black Lives Matter and stuff. Like, some of the same people who are, I would say, conservatives, who are, like, all about Waco, and they're like, hey, look at Waco, look at Ruby Ridge, right? They might be critical of Black Lives Matter, but also Black Lives Matter people, get with the program here. Get on board. Like, there's a whole bunch of people who have been critical of government use of force and violence since at least, like, the 90s, at least since Ruby Ridge, at least since Waco, who also understand the scenario we're in, where there's police force and police brutality, but it's not your local law enforcement, it's federal, it's state, it's local, it's everything. It's full spectrum, the state committing violence against the citizenry, and there's not really any, there's often no recourse for people, for individuals. Anyways, that's a hell of a rant from me for a Monday. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.